Hey guys, Xaryu here, and today we have some hot fixes. So I'm making a video going over the hot fixes to keep you guys up to date on what's going on in WoW PvP. So here it is, November 28th. That is today. You guys will see this video later today or tomorrow, but we start off with Shadow Priest changes. Void Eruption changes a little bit here. So Void Eruption no longer deals separate an event for Shadow Word Pain and Vampiric Touch. Instead, it's just one event for both of them. So that's a little bit of a nerf for Void Eruption so far, but here we see that Void Eruption damage is increased by 700%, which is crazy. That's mind-blowing. That's a lot. So we'll have to continue reading. I think there's some other changes to it down below, but that's a lot of damage from Void Eruption. So it means when you erupt, it's gonna be quite some heavy burst. Now keep in mind, this isn't a PvP change. This is an overall change, which is still affected. It still affects PvP, so we're gonna have to see how that kind of plays out in Arena. Shadow Crash, the cooldown reduced to 20 instead of 30. Insanity Generation increased to 20, was 15, and the missile speed is increased, so instead of going very slow, it'll go rather quickly, or a little bit quicker, at least 60% quicker. So Shadow Crash wasn't a talent we normally saw, but with these changes, we might see it in more bursty comps like Shadow Priest Rogue or something like that. So these are some pretty cool changes for Shadow Priest that we're already seeing here. Mind Seer passive damage increased by 50%, a little bit more cleave. You might see, it looks like a ton of awesome Shadow Priest changes, really. Heart of the Void Legendary increases Void Eruption's damage. Developers know this is compensation for the Void Eruption buff, so it should come about to the same. However, we don't care about legendaries because we're PvPers here, and legendaries don't work in PvP, so we'll skip that one. And then Shadow Word Pain and Vampiric Touch damage reduced both by 4%. A little bit less spread pressure, and I guess that's okay if we're getting a little bit more burst. So overall, these look like exciting changes. A little bit more burst and a little bit less spread pressure is kind of what I like to see in general. So cool there. Moving on to the actual player versus player changes, though. First, you have the blanket change. We're going with int strength, agility, and versatility by concordance is reduced by 65%. Was 60% reduced. So it was at 5%. Now it's 65% reduced, I guess. That's crazy. So I guess I like that. It's a little bit less variance in PvP, a little bit less like I'm either one-shotting or doing nothing in PvP, so I like that. This might be a little overboard, but we'll have to actually see how it plays out in the game. Here we have Frost Death Knights nerfed. Thank you, Blizzard. I love you. Pillar of Frost increases strength by 12% instead of 20%. Great. And then Frozen Core increases frost damage dealt by 5%, was 10%. Two different damage nerfs here. Definitely love this. Frost DKs are one of the best classes in the game right now. Glad to see some slight nerfs onto them. Now, Boomkin Druids. Solar Beam's persistent silence effect can no longer be avoided by jumping. Oh my gosh, yes. This bug has been in the game for so long. I am so happy to see this fixed. So Boomkins can no longer have the root beam jumped and avoided and just dispelled. Great change. It's not even a change. It's like a fix. It's a bug for a long time. You can't jump root beam anymore. If you didn't know you can jump root beam, now you know, but it's too late now because they fixed it. So hats off to Blizzard for fixing that one. Hunter, Scorpion Sting can no longer be cast while stunned, and for Marksman, TNT should no longer cause enemy player target standing from maximum range of bursting shot to ignore bursting shot's historian's effect. Once again, it looks like we're seeing a lot of bug fixes, not as much changes, but a lot of bug fixes here for Hunters and Boomkins. Mages Arcane. By the way, speaking of Arcane Mage, the last day of the season was yesterday. I think I hit rank 1 on my Arcane Mage. Pretty happy to say that. Arcane Mages are pretty strong, and PvP template reduced by 4%. I think this was needed. I think Arcane Mages are still gonna be fine. I really do. Arcane Mages, half of it is because they do a lot of damage, but half of it is because they're so slippery and you can't actually kill them, and they're so evasive, and they have so much mobility that the 4% damage reduction I don't think is gonna make or break the class. So I think mages, Arcane Mages specifically, are gonna be doing okay. We have Mistweaver Monks. Blackout Kick damage increased by 10% in PvP situations, and Rising Sun Kick damage reduced by 10% in PvP situations. So that's a little interesting, I guess I would say. They want to promote more Blackout Kick and a little bit less Rising Sun Kick in your rotation, I'm guessing. And here we see it, and in the hotfixes reflecting that. And I'm reading quickly here for Windwalker as well. They're getting the same treatment. So Blackout Kick damage increase for Windwalkers and Mistweavers, and the Rising Sun Kick is reduced for Windwalkers and Mistweavers. So I guess they were thinking RSK hits a little bit too hard, and then Blackout Kick doesn't hit quite hard enough. And I like this. I like that Blizzard, a lot of the times what they'll do is a class is overperforming and they'll nerf it. But what I like in this specific change is they might say Windwalkers are doing pretty well. Rising Sun Kick's hitting for 1,000,000. Let's nerf that so it doesn't hit quite as hard, but we'll buff something else in return. And I like that. I like, you know, if Mage's Ebon Bolt's hitting too hard, but their Frostbolt's not hitting hard enough, instead of just nerfing Ebon Bolt, maybe nerf Ebon Bolt and then buff Frostbolt. So you kind of keep the strength, you're just kind of shifting around where the damage comes from, so it's not quite as bursty or one-shotty. You're like, why did I just die? So I like that they're kind of nerfing Blackout Kick while or nerfing Rising Sun Kick and buffing Blackout Kick at the same time. We have Fist of Fury, damage reduced by 5% in PvP situations. So Fist deals so much damage, and it's one of their main stuns. So I like this as well. Windwalkers, guys, if you didn't know, are probably the strongest, or one of the strongest classes in the game. So the strong classes before this hotfix, guys, if you weren't up to date, are Windwalkers, DKs, Arcane Mages, LE Shamans, Resto Shamans, rogues are pretty decent as well, assassination rogues. But there's a lot of comps that kind of go within that and kind of make up the metagame right now. So a lot of the things that are performing well are actually getting nerfed already. So as we continue, Ride the Wind now correctly stacks with other movement speed increasing spells and effects. Once again, kind of like a bug fix almost, so I'm glad they are keeping an eye out on that. I always know when Blizzard's doing a good job when they're fixing stuff that's broken, and I didn't even know it was broken, kind of like these hunter changes up here. So cool, they're fixing stuff before I even know. However, there is stuff like the Druid Solar Beam that they could have done a little bit quicker, but you know what, that's okay. So we're moving on to Holy Priest now. Ray of Hope, final damage is no longer reduced by damage reduction abilities, and I think this is wonderful. Holy Priest, very good. Holy Priests have been nerfed probably about 20 times now, and they're still very good, but this seems not even like a nerf as much as a change, or a fix. And it's basically a Ray of Hope, guys. You can heal into it, you can damage into it. At the end, it can either be positive or negative, resulting in a heal or damage effect. If it's negative and you then threw a shield wall up or some type of damage reduction up, it's going to reduce that amount. Now it's not, so that's good. I like that. I don't think that's kind of like double dipping that effect, so that's pretty good. How they changed it. Now Holy Ward now properly prevents against bursting shots and between the eyes. Good. This was obviously a bug. Awesome, thumbs up, good job Blizzard. And this is one that I did know about. Greater Fade now properly causes bursting shots disorient to miss. Before you could bursting shot through Greater Fade, it was a bug. Now they fixed it, thumbs up. I play with the Holy Priest partner. That's actually what I ran to rank 1. I played with Envioso and Supatis, shout out to the boys. Greater Fade, you could just bursting shot through it, and my priest always be like, why? Why, Blizzard? They fixed it, good job, cool. Moving on, Shadow Priests. Mind Bomb's AoE stun now adheres to line of sight checks from the initial target. This is a big one, guys. Mind Bomb, you could Mind Bomb someone and it would kind of stun people through the pillar a little bit. Even if you were line of sighting the guy with Mind Bomb, if it blew up and you were still in a range, even through line of sight, it would hit you. Now it won't. So you can line of sight the Mind Bomb and you won't get stunned when the Mind Bomb blows up. Very, very glad to see this change. It's been annoying me when I get Mind Bomb through pillars, so definitely glad to see that. Void Eruption's damage reduced by 60%, but remember, earlier up in the patch notes here, I'll actually just scroll up, Void Eruption damage increased by 700%. So we'll see how this affects Void Eruption. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes just based on the numbers, and it's almost more like, how is this going to affect Shadow Priest bursts, Shadow Priest rotations, when you're going to be Void Erupting. Maybe you're going to save it for the burst and like Void Erupt right into a burst instead of kind of getting your Void Eruption rolling before the burst. I don't know. That initial tick might be pretty big now. Lash of Insanity now grants 2 insanity per tick in PvP situations, was 3 insanity. So it looks like they're almost making Void Eruption more of like a burst cooldown instead of something that you're staying in. But that's more of just my gut feeling that that might not actually be the case. Here for Assassination Rogues, guys. Assassination Rogues are so good right now. You don't see too many of them on ladder, but when you do, you're just like, oh my goodness. Flying Daggers increases the radius of Phantom Knives by 50 instead of 100%. And I love this change. If you guys didn't know, an Assassination Rogue could Phantom Knives and spin people out, and it was like at the hugest radius. It's hugest radius ever. And they could literally just spam Phantom Knives to get people out of stealth. It was just like the radius of the entire arena. It was really lame and annoying. So nerfing that by half, I like it. I like it. Good to see that change. Looks like you can actually range Assassination Rogues like a melee class instead of having them cover the whole arena. Thumbs up. Shaman. Sky Fury Totem will no longer incorrectly keep the casting Shaman in combat for its duration. I guess that's a good thing. Once again, another bug fix that I was personally not aware of, but I'm sure a lot of Resto Shamans out there were aware of. But now you can go for, you know, a drink or whatever with that Sky Fury Totem down if you need to. Tidal Totem from Resto Shamans will no longer incorrectly keep the casting Shaman in combat. So once again, same treatment as the Sky Fury Totem with the Tidal Totem here. I like these changes, not changes, but hotfixes, not hotfixes, but buff fixes to the game, whatever they're called. Ellie Shaman, Elemental Overload, spell damage reduced by 25% in PvP situations. So Ellie's, guys, are one of the best classes in the entire game right now. Having that 25% reduction on Ellie Overload is going to help a little bit. I still think Ellies are going to be in an okay spot, though, because they are insane right now. They absolutely destroy. Think they're going to survive this nerf. Resto Shamans, Healing Wave increased by 175 instead of 200%. This is actually a nerf to Healing Wave a little bit. And Resto Shamans, guys, are performing very well. I think this might be an okay change, and at the same time, I think Resto Shamans will still perform very well. I don't think this is going to make or break the class. That 25% might hurt a little bit, but I think it'll be okay still. Now we have Demonology Warlock's Implosion, damage reduced by 30% instead of 20%. A little nerf to Demo. We didn't see too much Demo or Implosion spec, but you know, maybe they thought it was hitting a little bit too hard. We have Destruction Warlock, Cremation, now dealing 3% of the target's health instead of 5% of the target's health. So a little bit of nerf there to the Cremation spec of Destrolocks. Once again, didn't see that too much, but maybe they thought it was overperforming just a tad bit, which I guess I can see. And Arms Warrior, guys, the last change here for today. PvP template versatility reduced by 5%, which is going to make them do a little bit less damage and make them not quite as tanky, which I really, really like, because warriors are so tanky, they deal a lot of damage. So probably a good change. 5% is a decent amount as well, so we should see a sizable difference, but I think warriors will still be okay. So overall, guys, I think the meta isn't going to be that much different. A lot of this are slight changes, and a lot of them are just bug fixes. So great patch overall. Hats off, Blizzard. Good job. Guys, if you enjoyed this video and all of these patch notes videos where I try to keep you guys up to date on what's going on in WoW PvP, make sure to give the video a big thumbs up. If you did not like the video, you can thumbs it down. Talk to me in the comments about what you guys want to see for next time. Try to read all the comments and make videos based on what you guys want to see. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.